So, hi everyone, my name is Daphne Thomson, and I work with municipalities on digital transformation and artificial intelligence. Today, we're going to dive into a story that's been unfolding on Vancouver Island, the Mount Underwood wildfire close to Port Alberni. And we're going to chat about how AI could potentially assist in those situations, specifically in the EOC. So, on August 11th, just after dinner time, what started out as a relatively small blaze southwest of the city erupted into one of the fastest growing fires of the season. In a matter of hours, it tore through 600 hectares of forest. By the end of the week, it had grown to over 3,600 hectares, forcing evacuation, alerts, destroying power, infrastructure, and leaving hundreds of residents without electricity. Now, this is way more than just a wildfire. It's a case study on how communities respond when fire behavior outpaces traditional systems, and it's why we're asking, how can AI support emergency management when the minutes matter? And to help me unpack this, I am joined by Alanna, an emergency management expert who has been on the front line of planning and coordinating and responses. So welcome, Alanna.
Thank you, Daphne. So great to be here. Thank you for having me. So I would say that this wildfire is a perfect example of how quickly conditions can spiral out of control, and something that we're seeing more and more often with these types of emergencies. Within the first 24 hours of this incident, crews were dealing with extreme fire behavior, flames ranking between 4 and 5 on a 6-point scale, meaning aggressive runs, crown fires leaping through tree tops, and unpredictable spread patterns. Add in impacts to the infrastructure. More than 50 poles were destroyed, 20 kilometers of line down, and outages, like you said, to hundreds of homes, over 500 people within the region without power. And you've got cascading emergencies happening all at once with situations like this. We have residents facing evacuation alerts, some already displaced, and others stuck without basic power and resources. Communications become patchy, and you're juggling firefighting, public safety, and basic utilities all at once.
In other words, it is just absolute mayhem and chaos, and we need to save lives, right?
Absolutely.
So, talk us just through the traditional way of how an EOC would be set up in that instance.
So, in an instance like this, an EOC would be set up to support the field operations, whereby an EOC director would be organizing things such as public communication, helping with planning, pre-planning for situations to deteriorate, looking at evacuation routes, looking at evacuation centers, opening them up, and directing the public to safety.
And all of this is usually pretty manual based on an emergency management plan, which is a manual usually in a district or a municipal office, right?
Yes, definitely. So each municipality will have their own community emergency management plan. These are, however, static plans, and they're meant to be adaptable to any situation. They're not highly specific. A lot of decisions have to be made according to the situation, and oftentimes there's not a lot of information available in the EOC at the outset of these emergencies.
And of course, these decisions have to be made under immense pressure, right?
Absolutely. Not everyone in the EOC would be familiar with practicing these types of emergencies on their daily basis. So it can become very daunting. It might be something that someone does once or twice in their career throughout the region that they're in. So it can be extremely stressful on the responders, yes.
Okay, so now let's chat about how AI can come into this instance. So imagine if in those first hours, predictive models have been running, simulations are on the weather, the slope, the vegetation, everything that we could make earlier decisions. For example, drones. Now, I know all of these things cost a lot of money, and it's still in the making. Hypothetically, chat, if this was there, how much quicker could an EOC been set up?
I think hypothetically speaking, you could save hours and potentially more in good, strong decision making. Again, there is no substitute for subject matter experts and pre-planning. Everything must come together, but you would have more information available at your fingertips to make those decisions slightly quicker and see a little bit further in the future.
Exactly. What we also want to make absolutely clear is there is no such thing as a replacement of a human decision maker. Exactly what you said, the matter experts are there to guide and to lead and to make the decisions. AI is only there to help us with additional data points to make better decisions. So instead of just chasing the fire, we're trying to stay one step ahead of where it potentially could go, right?
Absolutely. Where it could go, what impacts it would have on infrastructure and people, looking at evacuation routes, helping reroute people, and choosing suitable locations that are not also going to be exposed to a secondary emergency. I feel that these are things that AI could rapidly assess that would be done traditionally in an EOC by planning personnel and could take hours of time to gather various data points and put it all together.
All right. So now we've got this case study. Fire is breaking out. It is a emergency. Road is closed. Now we got residents that's facing evacuation. Alerts, some already displaced, others stuck without power. Communication becomes patchy. You're juggling firefighters, public safety, basic utilities, everything at once, right? Now, let's put AI in that instance. So, for example, using predictive analytics with a co-pilot, which is now working with ChatGPT, just as an easy example, we could model that, right? And spread and take this case study as a learning curve now of what could happen when this fire would now spread within 12 hours, right? That gives emergency management foresight on which neighborhoods might be at risk and which roads could become evacuation bottlenecks, right?
Yes, unfortunately, we're seeing wildfires that we've never seen before. They're changing so rapidly. We're often pulling the trigger with very little warning for residents to move out of the area. And oftentimes it happens without even enough time to plan properly for where all the residents will be going. So certainly anything that can improve the response time and predictive modeling of where fire may impact and who it may impact would be absolutely a game changer for responders and for the public that relies on that messaging, the clear messaging in a language they can understand with directions. My understanding is you could tie in these systems to GIS mapping, produce maps for individuals so they know where to go, everything readily available, things again that would take many hours for a team to develop on the fly.
Well, that's for me the beauty of it. So just hypothetically, we have, for example, an AI-powered drone that can scan the fire perimeters in minutes, mapping the hotspots, sending that info back into real life without having manpower in danger. And that means that our responders are now not just guessing where it could potentially go, but they have more calculated risk and calculated prediction of where it could potentially go to make those decisions just a little bit earlier, right?
Yes, definitely. Having that information is invaluable for attacks, for pre-planning attacks, for looking for survivors and those stranded. The drones mixed with intelligence can do these quick scans that only a visual eye could do and very well could miss certain things.
And then the following step afterwards, now that we have all this data, now we're able to go back into it, again, feed it into an AI model in order to learn from it, to say, well, what we could have done better? Where could we have saved more time? The aviation industry actually does this all the time. When there is some kind of emergency that happens, this is what they do. They use this as training ground.
That would be a huge advantage.
Exactly. So for a local government that is usually only reliant on consultants to help them train this, now they have opportunity to take this data that they have on what happened with this fire and turn it into information for them to train on, right?
Absolutely. I think municipalities do a great job when there is an incident ongoing. They may have certain deliverables, some certain lessons learned, but often those things can fall to the wayside if there's not an individual that's dedicated to making sure these things get done. Smaller municipalities that don't have the resources. So to have that support to be able to file your reports, file your lessons learned into a single location, and having the tools to go through and flesh out those actions and lessons learned would be tremendous. Also, intermunicipalities are not necessarily openly sharing each other's experiences. AI could possibly also scan the internet or what have you databases to gather lessons learned from various communities, various countries across Canada and the States. The wildfires in LA are a great example of many different learnings that we could use up here in Canada as well.
So what I'm hearing is if we can take our actual manual that we have, our manual or physical paper manual, and put that into an action item AI-based platform, which we could use any because there's so many. That's one of the ones that they're already actually using, for example, that can set up, well, what is the EOC director's direct steps? What are the steps they need to take immediately? What is the planning department's steps that they need to take? The communications, who do they need to contact? With this, it's also then easy to see who logs on at what time. So it takes away from the logging system. And that's now automated. All of the inputs that they put in can be summarized by AI immediately, which helps the EOC director scan to see, okay, what is happening. Not that it will take away from the meeting at all. Human interaction is still of the most utmost importance, but it still assists with more data, seeing something visually in front of you that is like a roadmap specifically for the role that you have been given, instead of trying to find that in a manual that takes extra time, right?
100%. And as I previously mentioned, the emergency management plans, they're very generic, but they can be fed into a situation, and you could use a tool to customize these actions for a wildfire, for a flood. And it would already incorporate your company's policy, your company's media tone, your company's contacts. All the information is there, and it makes it just a much more usable form in real life. Because as we know, these plans can become out of date very quickly. Phone numbers, people can change. Some people are thrown into the mix without any training. And this is just a way to make that piece of paper come to life.
Exactly. I think there's just so much that we can do in making it easier for someone to step in. Exactly what you said now. So, all right, so let's shift a little bit about the communication that goes out. Normally, it's on the website, it's on the social media pages of the district or of the local government, but that usually takes a little bit of time. So, what I love that you said, that if we're using AI that is already preset of what is the tone of voice, what are the things that we say, how do we communicate, we can feed that into it. It can spit out within seconds what the messaging is in line with what the district is. And with the AI, it can now spit it out in various languages. And I actually have an example for this. I lived in Japan, Tokyo, since over a year. And during that time, there was an earthquake. I was on the 14th floor, which is building. Massive earthquake. They are known for it. My first time experiencing it. But all I remember was my phone was beeping like Japanese. The TV was beeping like Japanese. Everything was beeping. The cupboards started opening. Everything is forced out into the cupboards, and I got paralyzed. I have no idea what's going on. The ground is shaking. All the messaging is in a language I don't understand, and I have never been taught of anything like this before. So I got paralyzed. No idea what to do. I'm just stuck in that building. So if we had an AI system that can pick up what is the language said on my phone, I would have known exactly what to do.
I mean, again, it's just a perfect example of something very simple that can create a lot of confusion, and can be easily solved with these tools. Port Alberni, again, is an example where they had to immediately evacuate 300 campers without knowing what countries they're from, what language they're from, whether they have any idea of the surrounding area and where to go. So these types of tools just have such a huge advantage to really helping the public understand what's going on, which is very key. And, again, going back to the pre-planning is most important. This is not something you want to develop on the fly, but again, the pre-planning can set the framework for your tone, your message, and the AI can help fill in the blanks and, like you said, translate it into a usable format that's going to resound with the actual people being impacted.
Even if we do that and we have a preset message that will go out in video format, right now the AI platforms that's creating videos, you don't even have to put a real life person in front of it, can create the script for it in real time. And as they play it, you can change the language into a language that you understand.
I love that. How many times have we gotten an emergency alert that's this long to read and you're already a little bit panicked? Seeing a video, whether or not it has language accompanying, showing what actions to take in an earthquake. I myself, I don't live in an area where we worry too much about earthquakes, but should I be visiting somewhere that does, I wouldn't have the first clue what to do. I might do something very dangerous and put myself in harm's way. But a simple video showing what actions to take, where to go, how to stay safe, that can literally save lives and with very little upfront effort. And I do believe there could be some reasonable tools that won't be extremely high cost, such as a video production that you might have done in the past, making a short movie for school children or such.
Some of these platforms are free that we can be using and implementing.
Wow.
Let's go back to the social media. What I also find can be a really help is when AI scans all the social media platforms, where we can start see if someone is still trapped, if someone is still out there and needs help, but doesn't have a way to communicate with us in either way. They're able to post on social media. It will help us spread the message quicker, for transparency, to get the word out. I just think that there's such a massive opportunity to incorporate AI in real life transitioning of our emergency management plan.
Absolutely.
Also, what about misinformation that is being spread about it? How do you think AI can help in redirecting the message that is going out, or being credible with the sources of information?
Perfect. Well, as great of a tool as social media can be, it can cause a lot of hardship sometimes during an incident. Number one, you might have to dedicate a person 24 hours a day to monitoring your social media. A human being reading every single message, replying, crafting, or scanning what's important, what's not important. So number one, the media listening, that's a massive win for any municipality that needs assistance monitoring that. Furthermore, we can't control what people post and what's right and what's not right, or where they post. Municipalities really try to gear people to go to their Facebook page and only get information from the website. They repeat over and over that's the most official source. But if you hear someone from Cousin Jack on his Facebook page, you're probably more likely to look into that and to take that as the real truth. So if we can weed out those trends and seeing, Cousin Jack's got 25,000 followers and he's dispelling these things, it's a place where we could jump in rather quickly and get ahead of it, rather than be blindsided by people with misinformation.
100%. Let's also think about AI and predictive modeling, for example, wildfires spread. Or training simulations where emergency teams can practice these responses in virtual reality powered by AI scenarios. And after the fire, AI can automate the reporting, After action reviews, analyze what worked, what didn't work, how rescues were deployed. That means faster lessons learned, no waiting between months for paper-based reports. What else can be done that's realistic in
I think that's a really great example of someone that I've spent my career doing planning and reporting and exercise design. That would save thousands of hours of time where you can actually be implementing some of these action items and actually be acting upon things rather than spending time writing out long scenarios, writing out long reports. Of course, they do still have to be vetted. It still does need the subject matter expert. But once again, everything can be compiled in a consistent manner, in the tone that you like, with the parameters you like, keeping all your reporting very consistent, regardless of who is doing it, whether you're hiring a consultant, whether you're doing it in-house. You can set up these systems to give you a certain output, as well as, once again, keeping that historical log and designing better exercises, more challenging exercises, and getting to the root of some of these identified issues that you can practice and be better prepared for.
I love that you said that you can never get rid of or replace the subject matter expert, because AI is not a silver bullet. It won't put out the fires, replace the experts of the local crews, but it does give those crews better tools to act faster and safer. So AI is like a co-pilot in emergency operations center. The decisions are still human, but sharper, faster, with intelligence guiding them.
Absolutely. And when would be more important time to save, or sorry, when would be a more important situation to save time as when in an emergency, and having a little bit of that confidence saying, okay, this feels comfortable. I feel we're going in the right direction, and having a little bit of support to come in behind and perhaps identify things that you're not immediately thinking of, because we are just a little bit slower as humans. We have to take our time to digest a lot of information that AI can do basically instantaneously.
But there's two sides to that. So yes, we take a little bit more time to take all that information in. However, again, this is the critical part of the human making, is AI doesn't take everything into consideration, where humans have that back end content where AI might not have, to make a better decision. So combined, that's where the key is.
I love that. I mean, my understanding, and you're the expert, is we have to train the system what to look for. It can't just tell us how to fight a wildfire. We need to train it. What is a wildfire? It isn't actual intelligence. It is just a tool to help gather and dissect and analyze information really quickly. So yes, I think you would still absolutely need someone driving that, and before an event. Again, I can't stress the importance, where I see this tool as a very great planning tool, planning during an emergency and planning before an emergency.
So if we just recap, what can AI do in emergency management? Automated alerts and notifications, real-time incident summaries, checklist automation, role guidance for those that isn't trained on this every single day, training exercises and simulation, post-incident debriefing sessions and reports, multilingual and accessible communication methods, and risk pattern recognition.
You got it.
What would be one thing that you would say is the most beneficial of taking your manual emergency preparedness plan and making use of AI to action it?
I think the single most useful thing would be able to take that generic plan and plug in the variables of the actual situation and make some very specific actions oriented towards that response. So again, it would be impossible for me to write a plan on exactly what to do if a wildfire breaks out. There's too many variables. There's too many weather variables. There's population variables. There's visitor variables, language variables, all of these things. But I can I can input that information, the knowledge that I have, alongside a standard template, and it will spit out some actual action items that are relevant to that situation in that moment with those parameters. And they can be changed just as easily as the situation can change so rapidly as we've seen.
So what we want to use it for is, like you said, a template, a tool, but we can use the system in flooding, in tsunamis, in earthquakes, in natural gas disasters, whatever. But that we have a system that can be transferable, learn as we go, and give us the tools and assistance in real time
Yes. Yes.
without us having the expertise ourselves in many
Yes.
instances.
Absolutely. It can assist, not just the directors of emergency management, but those assisting them, support in the EOC, helping craft better responses, better form filling, better incident recording, which is really, really important. It's not something we're all very great at, writing down every detail of everything as it happens. But if you're continually putting inputs into your plan, that's a real-time record of how the situation changed, when and what you did and why.
I love what you said, that actually putting into record what happened, because AI is a tool. It's garbage in, garbage out. If you don't put it in, it's lost. And that can be manual or with this tool. But I am super excited about how AI might transform how municipalities prepare and respond in these instances.
I really am too, Daphne. I've dedicated my whole career to emergency management, and it's extremely challenging sometimes because I can't write it all on paper. I can't predict what's going to happen, and I can't give every single person the training they need to act when things happen, because we don't get that time sometimes. So something like this is just an absolute game changer, and I'm very excited to see where it goes. And I'm very excited that it's not something that will be built or owned by a company. I think the tools are already out there. We don't need to be spending massive amounts of money that we don't have on fancy systems that really, at the end of the day, become just as static as a plan. So it's that intelligence piece that you really just can't put a price tag on. And I'm really excited to see what's next.
That piece that mimics human behavior is not human. But it mimics it and learns it to be a tool in instances where you need it most. So I'm just so excited. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been great chatting to you.
Thank you, Daphne. I hope to do it again soon.
Now, is there any way that people can reach you?
Absolutely. I will put my information. We'll link it to this chat. I can be reached at alanna.burton at ab-consulting.ca as well.
Thank you so much. And that was it for today. We will be exploring further opportunities how AI can assist municipalities in any situation to increase capacity, increase productivity, help us serve our communities better. Thank you so much for listening.